Okay, fine. So now I am going to create here a new folder called as day 16. And like always, inside this folder, I am going to open VS Code. So I will disable the chat section now. After explaining few topics, I will enable again so that if you have any doubts, you can ask me. So here I am going to create a file, new file called as functions.py. So in our yesterday's class also we have discussed about functions, right? And still we have a lot of things in functions to discuss. So first let me select my interpreter, and yes, the recording has started. I have disabled the chat section. Now let us begin our class. So now I think you all are aware of functions. So function is nothing but a block of code or a piece of code which will do a specific job. That's it. So if I open yesterday's file, let me open that GitHub link. So yesterday is day 15, and here we have discussed about functions. So you can see here the definition. Functions are block of code. We can call functions multiple times. Yes, of course. After creating a function or after defining a function, we can call them multiple times. So whenever we call a function, the code present inside that function will get executed. And also one more thing is, if we are not calling that function means the code present inside that function will never get executed. So that's the important thing which you should remember. And yes, of course, we can define a function once and we can call them multiple times. The code present inside a function will get executed only when we call a function. So we have seen these things yesterday, and we know the syntax for defining a function. First, we need to use this def keyword, after that function name, after that parenthesis. And inside this parenthesis, we will pass some parameters. Now, in the below line, we will give some space for indentation, and after that, we will write our code. So in case if any line is having indentation space means that line will belong to my function. So here line number 9, 10, and 11 will belong to my function, and line number 12, this line does not have any indentation space, right? So this line will not belong to my function. So this line is basically outside my function. So now we are going to discuss about types of functions. So here types of functions. So first one is, yesterday also we have seen this function with function without arguments. What is meant by function without arguments? So yesterday we have discussed about a function called greet, right? So in this greet function, I am not passing any arguments here. So this is called as function without arguments. So here I can simply say print hello, good evening. So this is a function without arguments. So now if I run this program, of course, I won't get anything on the terminal or output screen because I'm not calling this function. So how to call a function? Function name followed by parenthesis. Now I am calling this function. So the code present inside this function will get executed now. Now I will get output as hello and good evening. You can see here at the terminal. All right. So these are function without arguments. Why? Because I am not passing any arguments here, right? And also inside the, while defining the function, I am not taking any parameters and arguments, they both are exactly same. There is nothing difference in between them. Okay, don't get confused with two terms, they both are exactly same. And also, if you want any difference, then consider it. Parameters are something which we pass while defining a function. While defining a function, inside this parameter, inside this parenthesis, if we pass any variables means they are considered as parameters. And while calling a function, if we pass any values means those values will be considered as arguments. They both are exactly same again. Just don't get any kind of confusion with these two terms. So now the second type of functions are, we also discussed this yesterday, functions with arguments. So here, let me create a function called div, which will divide two numbers. So here I am performing division on two numbers, which means I need to take two arguments, right? So here I am going to pass two parameters, A and B. And what should I do? I should perform division. So I have declared a new variable called D, and I am dividing A with B. Now after that I am printing the value of D. So whenever I call div function, if I run this I will get an error. Why? Why? Because this div function is taking two arguments here. So I should pass two arguments. So if I say 5 comma 2, now 5 will get divided by 2. What is 5 by 2? If I run this program, you can see here I got answer as 2.5. If I say 6 by 2, 2 3s are 6, right? I will get output as 3.0. So like this, my function with arguments will work. So what is happening here? If I am passing any parameters while defining a function means I need to give exact number of arguments while calling that function also. So that's the thing here. While defining a function, if I am taking any parameters means while calling a function, I need to pass those parameters or arguments. I hope you understood this concept. Now the third type of function is functions without parameters, and here I said arguments. Here I am using arguments, right? So here also let me use arguments. So functions without arguments and with return statement. Now what is this return statement? We are going to discuss about this return statement now. So basically, if we use this return keyword, so this return is a keyword in Python. So if we use this return keyword inside a function, then that function will return something. What does that mean exactly? Let me show you. If I say def and this function will return something. So the name of the function itself is return something. And also I am not taking any arguments here. I am not taking any arguments. My parenthesis is empty. So here I am going to use the return keyword, and to this return I am going to return some variable called a. So if I am returning a variable a means I also should declare that variable a. So let me say a equal to 523, something like this. Now, if I call this function, so the name of this function is return something. If I call this function, you can see here nothing will happen. I haven't got anything on the output screen. Why? What is happening here? I haven't got anything on the terminal because I am not printing a here. I am not printing the value of variable a. Instead, I am returning the value of this variable a. So here, in order to get the output, I have two ways. The first thing is I need to place this function call inside a print statement, or else I need to assign this function call to a variable. After that, I need to print that variable. So let me show you. So simply I can place this function call itself in a print statement. Now you can see here I am having a print function here or print statement. So inside this print function I am placing another function call. So here the name of my function is return something, and after my function name according to the syntax I am giving parenthesis. As I am not taking any parameters inside this return something function, I am also not passing any arguments while calling. So I hope you understood this. So I am placing a function call itself inside my print function. So if I run this program, you can see here now I got the output as 523. So this is one method of printing. The second method is here you can assign this function call to a variable. So return something. This return something is my function call, and I am assigning this function call to a variable called x. Now if I print the value of x, you can see here I got output as 523. So if we are using return statement inside function means, then if we directly call that function we won't get any kind of output. Instead we need to print the function call, or else we can assign the function call to a variable and we need to print that variable. So I hope you understood this. Now what will happen if I print this div function? So let us see. So here I am not returning anything, right? So if I print this div function, let me comment out line number 24 so that you don't get any kind of confusion with number of outputs. If I run this, you can see here initially I got 3.0 because I am printing the value of d. So I got 3.0 and after that I got none. So what is meant by this none? None means nothing, right? So as this function is not returning anything, So this function is not returning anything. So I got output as none while printing my function. So while printing my function called div, I got output as none because this function div is not returning anything. So I hope you understood the point here. Let me comment out this line once again, and after that I can change these names now. So the first type is function without arguments and without return, without return statement. So initially I haven't gave this name because I haven't explained about return, right? So now I am changing this. Now the second type is functions with arguments and without return statement. So the third type is functions with without arguments and with return statement. What does this mean? So here I am not taking any arguments, I am not taking any parameters while defining a function, and also I am not passing any arguments while calling a function. So these are functions without arguments and with the return statement. Why? Why? Because I am using return keyword here, right? So these are functions with return statement. Now you might be thinking, what is the use of this return? So here let me declare a list with some random elements. So here this is a list called L with some random elements, and suppose we know what this len function will do, right? It will return the total number of elements present inside my list. So here my list name is L. So if I say len of L and if I run this program, you can see here I got nothing on my output screen. Why? All these days I have been placing this len function call inside a print statement. So now you might be now you can understand easily. So this len function, how is this len function internally working? So this len function is working with the help of a return statement. So in this len function, the Python developers has placed a return statement. They are not using print function. So if they are using print function means then just by calling the function itself, I will get output. Instead of print function, if they are using return statement means I need to print this function call. So here to get the output, I need to print this len function call. Now if I run this, I will get output as 6. Why? Because there are 6 elements present inside my inside my list. And also I can assign this to a variable and I can print the value of that variable. So if I run this, you can see here again I got output as 6. So basically what is happening here in this len function, the Python developers are using return statement. They are not using print function. So like this, we can either use print directly or else we can use return statement also to return something. So basically these first two functions, greet and div, these two functions are not returning anything, whereas this function return something. The name of this function itself is return something, and this is returning some random value. Now I hope you understood how this len function is working internally. So basically they are using a return statement inside the function. They are not using print. And also the fourth type of functions are of course functions with arguments and without and with return statement. Now here I am going to define a function called add, which will add two numbers, which means I am taking two parameters here, a comma b. So whenever a user calls this function called add, he need to pass two arguments. So those two arguments will get stored inside a and b. We have discussed this yesterday. Now here I am going to perform addition. So addition equal to a plus b, and I am going to return addition variable here. I am not going to print. I am going to return addition variable. So if I call this function add with two random values, I won't get any output. Why? Why? Because I need to print this function call. Because inside this function add, I am not using any print function, right? I am using return statement. So I need to print this function call. If I print this add function now, if I run this, you can see here I got output as 30. What will happen if I pass extra value? So let me run this. You can see here I got error. So this add function will take exactly two arguments, but here I am passing three arguments. So I got error. Now what happens if I pass a single argument? So if I run this, you can see here again I got error. It is saying missing one required positional argument. So here B is also a required argument and I am passing only one argument. So I got an error. So we need to make sure that I am passing exactly same number of arguments which are present in my function definition. In my function definition, there are two parameters present, right? So while calling that function also, I need to pass exact number of parameters like 10 comma 20, some random values like this. Or let me check for 30 and 20. Now I will get output as 50. So this is a function with arguments and with return statement. So we have discussed about four types of functions. The first type of function is function without arguments and without return statement. As you can see here, I am not passing any arguments and also there is no return statement here. So this is a function without arguments and without return statement. The second type of function is functions with arguments and without return statement. As you can see here, I am taking two parameters a and b. So while calling a function also, I need to pass two arguments. So here, and also one more thing is I am printing the output and I am not returning anything. So this is a function with arguments and without return statement. Now the third type of function is function without arguments. As you can see here inside my parameters, there are no, inside my parentheses, there are no arguments. So this is a function without arguments and with a return statement. I am returning something. Similarly, the last type of functions are function with arguments. As you can see here, I am taking two arguments a and b and with return statement. I am also returning something. So this is a function with arguments and with return statement. So these are four types of functions available in Python. Now, in case if you are thinking that why do we need these four type of functions, just don't get any kind of confusion. It totally depends upon our need. If you want to create a function with arguments and without return statement, of course you can create it. It totally depends upon you. No one is going to order you like you have to create a function with arguments and without return statement, or else no one will order you like you have to create a function without arguments and with return statement. No one will give orders to you. You can create functions as you need. It totally depends upon your requirement and it is your wish totally. So as there are four types of functions available, I have explained them. That's it. You don't have to get any kind of any kind of confusion. It totally depends upon your need and your requirement. So if you want to return something, you can return, or else if you directly want to print the output, of course you can print. So these are the types of functions available in Python. Now after this, let us discuss about default parameters. So what are these default parameters? Now I am going to create a function called add again. So inside this function, I am going to take two parameters and I am going to return a plus b. I am not declaring a new variable here. Instead, directly I am returning a plus b. I am performing addition of a and b and I am directly returning that. So I hope you understood this point. So this add function will take two parameters and it will return the addition or it will return the sum of those two numbers. So now here can I assign values directly to these parameters inside this function call? So let me repeat my question once again. Can I assign any random values to these parameters directly inside my function definition? Yes, of course I can do that. So if I say b equal to 0, now the value of b will be 0. So let me call this function. So as I am returning, I am using print here. So print add of 10. So I am passing only one argument here. And here, while defining a function, I have said that the default parameter value of b will be equal to 0. So if I run this program, you can see here I got output as 10. What is happening here? I am passing one argument here. So 10 will get stored in A and the value of b is 0. So 10 plus 0 is of course 10. In case if I pass 10 comma 20, what will happen now? Will I get any error? No, I won't get any kind of error. So if I pass the second argument also means now the value of b will change to 20. If I am not passing any value means by default it will be 0. That is why I called it as default parameters. So if I am not passing any value for b means by default it will be 0. In case if I am passing any argument also for b, then the value of b will get changed to 20 now. So if I run this program, you can see here this time I got 30 as output, which means 10 plus 20 is 30. Now the value of b is now 30. Similarly, I can say a equal to 0. So by default, the value of a and b will be 0. In case if I am passing any values means this 0 will get replaced by the value which I am passing. Here I am passing 10, right? So the value of a will be 10 and similarly the value of b will be 20. Why? Because I am passing 20 here. So if I won't pass anything, by default it will be 0. If I am passing any values means the default values will get changed with the actual values which I am passing. So I hope you understood the point. If I run this program, you can see here again I got 30. Now what will happen if I don't pass any values? So let me comment out line number 44, and here you can see I am not passing any values to this add function. So the default values are 0 and 0. What is 0 plus 0? 0, right? So you can see here I got output as 0. So these are called as default parameters. So if you want any parameter value to be default, then you can directly assign some value to a parameter. So this is one more concept which are default parameters. I hope you understood this. So let me quickly repeat once again in case if you have any kind of confusion. So here the point is we can directly assign some values to the parameters, not only integers, we can assign strings also. As I am performing addition operation here, so I am using integers. So it is not like I am explaining with the help of integers, you also should use integers only. You can try with strings. You can try with some other data types also like float, so it is totally allowed. So here the point is the default parameters means we can directly assign some values to our parameters. So by default, the value of a and b will be 0 now. And while calling a function, if I am passing any arguments means the default parameter value will get changed with the argument value. So here I am passing 10 comma 20, right? So this 0 will get changed to a. Now a will become 10 and b will become 20. This 0 will get, the 0 of a will get replaced by 10 and the 0 of b will get replaced by 20. In case if I am not passing any values means, so by default, these default parameter values will be considered. So here I am not passing any values. I am not passing any arguments at line number 45. So I got 0 as output. Why? Why? Because the value of A and B are by default 0. In case if I change this to 10, now the default value of A is 10. If I run this line number 45, where I am just calling the add function, I am not passing any arguments. So now the default value of A is 10 and B is 0. So what is 10 plus 0? 10, right? So if I run this, you can see here I got output as 10. So these are default parameters in Python. If you are not passing any values means default values will be considered. And in case if you are passing some arguments means the default value will get changed with the actual argument value which you are passing. So these are default parameters. And the next thing is args. So what is meant by args? So here I am going to create a function called multiple arguments. So the name of my function is multiple arguments and this will take only one parameter. So the name of the parameter is args. And if I print args, and also I am printing here, so I don't need to place the function call inside a print statement because I am using print here. I am not using return. So I can directly call the function multiple arguments of 10. So if I run this program, first I will get output as 10. If I say 100, I am going to get output as 100. Why? What is happening here? So here my parameter name is args and I am printing the value that is stored in args. And the one more thing is I am passing a argument 100. So this 100 will get stored in args and while printing the args, I will get 100 as output. So now why am I explaining this? Suppose if I pass multiple values like this, of course I will get an error, right? Here I am passing 5 values. And if I run this program, you can see here I got error because this multiple arguments function will take exactly one argument, but I am passing 5. So that's the error here. So I got error. So in this case, to solve these kind of errors, you can place a star before your argument or parameter name. So here my parameter name is args, right? So before args, I have placed a star. So now this will take multiple parameters. So if I run this program, you can see here I got tuple in my output. So if I place a star before my parameter name, then this parameter will take multiple arguments and it will store these arguments inside a tuple. So if I print type of args, I run this program once again, you can see here I got output as class tuple. So this, if we place a star before a parameter name, then this parameter will take multiple number of arguments. So let me explain, let me write some basic definition here, like if we place a star before parameter name, then that parameter will accept multiple arguments from function call. So if you read this, you can clearly understand. So if we place a star before a parameter name, args is my parameter, right? So then this args parameter will now accept multiple number of arguments. I am passing five values here, but there is only one parameter here. As I am placing this star before my parameter name, now this parameter args will accept multiple arguments. So if I print this, you can see here I got tuple as output. So by default, if you place a star before parameter name, then that parameter will accept multiple number of arguments and it will store those all arguments inside a tuple. So I hope you understood the concept of arguments. Let me comment out this line, and one more thing is quags. Quags means keyword arguments. So here let me create a function called, so the name of the function is something like multiple, or the name of the function is dictionary, and here the name of my parameter is any random name I can take. So I am going to take as D, and I am going to print D here, and I am going to call this function called dictionary, and to this I am going to pass. Just give me a second. Okay, fine. I am back. I just got a call. So fine. So here, what is meant by quacks means keyword arguments. As I am saying keyword here, now while passing values or while passing arguments inside a function call, I need to give a keyword and some value like this. So here I am going to say first equal to hello, or first equal to ABCD, and second equal to PFGH, something like this. If I run this, I will get an error. So let me run this. You can see here I got error because dictionary got an unexpected keyboard. Why? Because this is a normal parameter. This D is a normal parameter, whereas this case star args, this is a special kind of parameter which will accept multiple arguments. And this D is a normal parameter, right? So here we are discussing about keyword arguments. So I need to place two stars before my parameter name. So if I run this program again, you can see here this time I got a dictionary here. So here, let me explain what is happening clearly. I am placing two stars before my parameter name. Parameter name can be anything. Here I am taking D. It can be anything. So I am printing D here. That's it. My function is taking a parameter called d, and it is printing that parameter d. So while passing arguments, I have given key value pairs. So we know about key value pairs right here. First is my key and ABCD is my value. Similarly, second is my key and EFGH is my value. So in case if you have requirement like this, you want to pass some key value pairs, then you can use these keyword arguments. So in case of keyword arguments, you need to place two stars before parameter name. So if you are placing two stars before parameter name means then it will accept key value pairs. So this first is a key and ABCD is a value. And while printing the D also you can see here this time I got dictionary as output. Dictionary with some keys and values. So there are two key value pairs I am passing and I got those two key value pairs on my output screen. So I hope you understood the concept of keyword arguments. So here you need to place two stars before parameter name. Now in case why do I should place two stars before parameter name? I can directly pass dictionary itself as a argument. No, yes, of course you can do that also. You are allowed to do that, but this is one more method available in Python. That's why I am teaching you. Now no one is going to order you to use this in the same way. In you can so let me create another function called def dictionary. Again the function is same name, so I am going to comment out line number 58 and 59 also. This will take a dictionary and I am printing D here. So I am going to call this function called dictionary and here I am going to pass a dictionary now. So let me copy the same contents from the output. So have pasted it. So if I run this program now, I got the same output. So you can directly pass a dictionary itself as an argument also. It is also totally allowed. But then why am I explaining this method? It is one more method available in Python. That's the reason why I am explaining. Now it is up to you. You can use either these keyword arguments or else you can directly pass a dictionary to a function call. It is up to you. So don't get confused with these multiple methods. They are basically just the same things, but there are different ways of doing it. So you can use your own way. You can use a way of your choice. It's up to you now. Now you know multiple ways. Now you can choose any one way while coding. So here I am using two stars, right? So it will accept a dictionary now. So I can pass key value pairs like this. So I can assign some value to a key with the help of equal to. Now it will be considered as a key value pair and this keyword argument will take a dictionary as input. So I hope you clearly understood about keyword arguments now. So today we have discussed about how we can accept multiple arguments in a single parameter. So for that you need to place single star. If you want to access a dictionary, then you can place double star. Now you need to give key and value pairs. And also we have seen the types of functions. We have discussed about default parameters. So here the thing is you can directly assign some default values to your parameters. In case while calling a function, if you are not passing value to these parameters means then the value present inside default parameter will be considered. But if you are passing some value, if you are passing some argument means the default value will get replaced by the value which you are passing. Here I am passing 20, so 0 will get replaced by 20. So I hope you understood today's concepts. So now we are going to discuss about one more interesting thing. So I am going to create another function called def print variables. Here the name of my function is print or else I can say print params, which means parameters. I am going to take three parameters here, a comma b comma c, and I am going to print. I am going to use f string here. We know about f strings, right? A, so I am going to say the value stored in a is inside curly brace. I am going to say a, comma b is inside curly brace. I am going to say b because these are f strings. We have discussed about this, and c is inside curly brace. I am going to say c. So that's it. If I print, if I call this function print parameters and if I pass some arguments like 10, 20, 30, now what will be my output? I am using print function here. So the value stored inside A is 10, B is 20 and C is 30. Why? Because I am passing 10, 20, 30, and here my parameter names are A, B, C. So 10 will get stored in A, 20 will get stored in B, and 30 will get stored in C. So if I run this program, of course, I am going to get output as the value stored in A is 10, B is 20, and C is 30. So now what happens if I say B equal to 10, A equal to 20, and C equal to 30. So like this also I can assign values to the arguments. Like this also I can pass parameters or arguments. So here I am saying that B is 10 and A is 20 and C is 30. Now if I run this program, you can see here the value stored in A is 20, because I am saying here that A is 20, B is 10 and C is 30. So like this also you can assign values to the parameters while calling a function. If you don't want to follow the proper order, then you can use this method. So in case if you don't want to give exactly in the same order like A, B, C, if you want to give in your own order, then you can do that with the help of parameter name. So first you need to take the parameter name, and to that parameter name you need to assign your own value, and again you need to take other parameter and you need to assign some value. So like this also we can do. This will also works in Python. Suppose if I say d equal to 30, and if I run this program, you can see here I got error because this d is a the unknown. Here I am having A, B, and C. I am not having D, right? So if I say D, I will get an error because this D is a unexpected argument. So this parameter D is not present while defining a function. The only parameters which are present are A, B, and C. So I need to make sure that I am using proper or valid parameter names. So these are the few things which you can do, and also it is better to remember these things. So we have discussed a lot of things regarding functions in today's class. So now I am going to enable the chat section, and also we have some more topics to discuss today. Don't leave the class. If you have any doubts, you can just ask me. I have enabled the chat section. You can ask me quickly. Otherwise, I will proceed with the rest of the class. So today we have discussed a lot of things about functions. Okay, Prashant is saying clear, all right. Okay, Kalyan is also saying clear. Okay, fine, fine. Yes, of course. Narasimha is asking a good question. We can place print and return inside same function. Nothing will happen. We won't get any kind of error. So is my voice getting echo? Or maybe the reason is I am sitting inside a closed room. That may be the reason. Okay, I will speak slowly a little bit. Okay, I have disabled the chat section. Now I am going to show you that we can use print and return inside a same function. So that's a good question actually, because I need to explain one more thing regarding that. So here I am going to create a function called add, and inside this add function I am going to take two parameters like always, and I am returning here a plus b, and as I am using return here, if I say print of add of 10 comma 20, there is no magic, I will get output as 30, right? Suppose here if I say print the sum is, and if I run this program now, you can see here initially I got output as the sum is, after that I got output as 30. So what is happening here? I am calling the function called add, right? So the code present inside this add function will get executed now. So what is the code present inside my add function? So initially I am having a print statement here. So the contents present inside my print statement will get displayed on my terminal. After that I am returning a value. So right, so that value will get printed on my output because I am placing this add function call inside a print function. So I will get that output. Suppose if I say print function ended. Now see what will happen. This will be interesting. I haven't got this print statement on my output screen. I haven't got function ended on my terminal. Why? Why? Because after returning, then the code present below the return statement will never get executed. So inside functions, after using return statement, then the code present below the return statement will never get executed. So here at line number 76, I am returning the function. So this function, the execution of this function will end at line number 76 itself. Suppose if there is any code present below line number 76, which will belong to this function. This line number 77 also belongs to my function, right? Why? Because I am giving indentation space here. As I am giving indentation space here, so line number 77 will also belong to my function add. So here line number 77 will not get executed because here my function is returning at line number 76 itself. So basically whatever the code that is present above return statement will get executed, and the code present below return statement will never get executed. So I hope you understood the point here. So yes, of course, the answer is we can use print and return inside a same function. This will happen if we use print and return inside a same function. So after return, whatever the code is that is present, that will never get executed. So now we are going to discuss about lambda functions. So I am going to create a new file called lambda functions.py. So now what is this lambda functions? We have discussed about functions, right? We have discussed about a lot of concepts regarding functions. We have seen how functions work. Now we know that function is a block of code which is used to do a specific task. We can create a function once and we can call it multiple times. So whenever we call the function, the code present inside that function will get executed. So we have discussed about types of functions. After that, we have seen about default parameters, arguments, keyword arguments, and we have discussed about a lot of things today. But now I am going to explain you about lambda functions. We have functions. Then why do we need lambda functions? So basically, this add is a basic function, right? So instead of defining this add function like this, we can use lambda functions. So basically, lambda functions are also called as anonymous functions. I will explain why. So let me first type those things. Lambda functions are also called as anonymous functions. And the second point is they are single line functions. So here basically the function definition and the function code, everything will be present in a single line itself, and we will return in the same line itself. So how will that work? I will clearly explain. So why am I calling it as anonymous functions? Because these lambda functions will not have a name. In case of my normal functions, the name of the function which is present at line number 74 is add. Similarly, the name of the function which is present at line number 68 is print params. So here I am having a specific name to that function, and I am calling that function with the help of this name. Okay. And we have discussed that function name can be anything. We need to follow the same rules which we follow while declaring variable names. So function name should not begin with number. Function name should not contain special characters except underscore, and the function name should not be a keyboard. So what are keywords? They are special reserved words in Python like if, def, else, elif, for, while. So we can't use these names as our variable names. So the same three rules will apply for function names also. Okay. Now I am calling these lambda functions as anonymous functions because these lambda functions will not have a name. They are anonymous. What is meant by anonymous? It is basically a hacker group, right? But if I search for anonymous meaning, it is basically like unnamed, something like that. You can say anonymous means not identified by name or unknown name. So anonymous means unknown name. So we call lambda functions as anonymous functions because they don't have a name. Their name is unknown. So the syntax is, now if you are thinking, in case if you are thinking why do we need lambda functions, then just learn the concept. That's it. You don't, it is not mandatory to use lambda functions in your code. You can use normal functions also. If you are good with normal functions, you use them. And to be frank, so far I never used lambda functions while coding. But this is one concept available in Python. So it is my job to teach you. So here the syntax is first a variable name. So after that, we will assign a function itself to this variable. So as they are lambda functions, we need to use this lambda keyword. So for declaring or defining normal functions, we are using this def keyword, right? Similarly, for lambda functions, we use this lambda keyword. After lambda keyword, there will not be a function name. Instead of function name, we will directly take arguments. So I can say parameters also. So like this, I can take multiple parameters. I need to separate them with the help of comma. And after that, of course, we need to use colon. And the one more important thing is, as they are single line functions, in the same line itself, I am going to return something. So expression. So what is meant by this expression? I will explain with an example. Don't worry. So let us follow the same syntax now. So here now my requirement is I am going to create this same add function with the help of lambda. Now, so as I am using lambda functions here, I am not going to use the name add. How will it work then? Let us see. So here I am declaring a variable called x. Variable name can be anything. It's your wish. So according to syntax, I am using lambda keyword. And after lambda keyword, I should take arguments, right? So for adding two numbers, I am going to take a and b as two arguments. So I know I can separate arguments with the help of comma. So here a comma b are my arguments now. And according to syntax, I need to separate arguments and expression with the help of colon. Now, what is meant by expression? So here I need to perform addition, right? So simply I can say a plus b, that's it. So here a plus b is an expression. So here you can see there is no name to my function. X is a variable name, not a function name. So we call them as anonymous functions because we don't have a name to the function, but we are taking some parameters and we are performing some operation. So they are called as single line functions and anonymous functions. So if I print x of 2 comma 4, and if I run this program, you can see here I got output as 6. So what is happening here? I am not calling this function with the help of function name because there is no function name here. X is my variable name. So I am saying x of 2 comma 4 here. You can consider it like as this here x itself is acting as a function name. So here x itself is acting as a function name, but basically x is a variable here, not a function. So in lambda functions, after variable name, in order to call lambda functions, you can use variable name. And obviously after variable name, you need to use parentheses. And inside the parentheses, you will pass some arguments. So the arguments which you are passing here, 2 comma 4, will now get assigned to the parameters a and b. So a will be 2 and b will be 4. Now here my expression is a plus b. So what is a plus b? 2 plus 4. It is 6, right? So I got output as 6. So here I am not using return keyword. I am not using print statement. So basically I am using nothing here. There is no name to my function and it is in single line. So instead of defining a function and using a return statement and again calling a function, here you need three lines, right? So instead of writing this in three lines, you can write them in two lines with the help of lambda functions like this. So this is a basic example. I have performed addition. You can perform some complex operations also here. So like you can say a power b also. So we know we use two stars for performing power operation, right? For exponential operation. So in case if I say 4 comma 3, so what is 4 power 3? 4 into 4 into 4. 4 4 are 16 and 16 4 are 64. So if I run this program now, you can see here I got output as 64. So these are lambda functions in Python. So lambda functions are nothing but they are also called as anonymous functions and we declare them in single line. So according to the syntax, first there will be a variable name and to that variable we assign a lambda function itself with the help of equal to assignment operator. So here first we use lambda keyword, after that arguments, and after that there will be expression and we need to separate arguments and expression with the help of colon. So this is the syntax and like this you can use lambda functions in Python. So I hope you clearly understood the concept of functions and lambda functions in today's class. So I think you don't have any kind of doubts now. So anonymous means there is no name, that's it. So I have enabled the chat section. If you have any doubts, you can ask me now. So today we have discussed a lot of things regarding functions and also we have seen about anonymous functions. So here let me choose Python. So there is a basic program called swapping two variables, right? So now let us discuss about that program. So let me create a new file called swap.py. So I think so someone is asking questions. So can we use loops in Lambda functions? I don't think we use loops in Lambda functions because basically Lambda functions are single line functions, right? So we can't use loops. Yes, we can pass multiple parameters. Here, in case of Lambda functions, I am passing multiple parameters, right? A comma B. So of course, I can also pass C and I can perform addition of A plus B plus C. And I need to make sure that while passing arguments, I need to pass three arguments. So 4 plus 3 plus 6. If I run this, I got output as 13. Yes, in parameters, in normal functions in parameters, we can pass listed lists also here. In case of functions.py file, I have shown you that we can directly pass a dictionary itself. Here I am passing a dictionary itself as an argument. Of course, we can pass dictionary itself as an arguments also. In case of lambda functions also, I can pass a list itself as an argument. So let me show you that. Yes, I have shown you that we can pass dictionaries or list or tuples as arguments in case of normal functions. In case of lambda functions, now we are going to write a small program which will return the length of the iterable. So here, so L will be my function, lambda function name. So lambda, which will take a iterable, and it will return len of that iterable. That's it. So if I print x, if the name of my anonymous function is L, right? So L of, now if I pass a tuple here with some random elements, and if I run this program, you can see, so there might be some spelling mistake. Iterable, yes. So if I run this program, you can see here I got 8 as output. So what is happening here? L is my anonymous function, and let me use list itself because you will get confusion with the parentheses. So here L is my anonymous function or lambda function, and to this L function, I am passing a iterable. So here I am passing a list as a argument to my iterable argument. I am passing a list, and I am returning the length of that iterable parameter. Here iterable is a parameter, right? I am returning length of that parameter. So while printing this L of some random list, I will get output as the length of the iterable, which means the total number of elements that are present inside my iterable. So of course we can pass list, sets, tuples, and dictionaries as arguments. So now here this entire list will get assigned to this iterable parameter, and I am returning length of iterable. So I got output as 8. So I think you understood. It is allowed. So now we are going to see how to swap the values of two variables. So first I am going to take input from the user in integer format. So enter a value. Similarly, enter b value. Now print. I'm going to use f strings here. So before swapping, and in the new line, I'm going to print. So for new line, I'm using this backward slash n. You know what this backward slash n do? It will basically enter into new line. Before swapping, the value of a is square braces a, as I'm using f strings here, and b is square braces b. So now if I run this program and if I enter a value, a is 10 and b is 20. So you can see here I got output as before swapping in one line, and the value of a is 10 and b is 20 in other line. Why? Because I am using backward slash n here. So this backward slash n will take me to the new line. I have explained about this in our previous classes. And also I am using f strings here. So whatever the contents that are present inside curly braces will be considered as variables. So a and b are my variable names, right? So I got the values which are stored in A and B on my output screen. The A is 20 and A is 10 and B is 20. So now we are going to perform swap operation. So what is meant by swapping means basically uh, assigning the value of B to A and A to B. changing the interchanging the values of two variables. They are considered as swapping. So before swapping, a was 10 and b was 20, right? So after swapping, a will become 20 and b will become 10. So there are two methods in Python. So first one is using third variable. So what is meant by using third variable? So I am going to store the value of a inside a third variable. So here I am using c. Here c is my new variable, and inside c I am storing the value of a. So now consider the value of a is 20 and b is 40. Okay. So now a is 20. So 20 is got stored inside c. Now 20 is stored inside variable c. Now I don't need this variable a, right? Because the value of a is safe. The value of a is safe inside my variable c. So here I can say a equal to b. So what is happening here again? So here the value of b is getting stored inside a. So b is 40, right? So now the value of a becomes 40. So now I am storing the value of b inside a, and the final line I can store c inside a again. So what is this again? So now I want to change the values of A to B and B to A, right? So initially I have taken a new variable and I have stored the value of A inside that new variable. Okay. Now my value of A is safe inside a variable called C. And in the next line, I am assigning the value of B to my variable A. Okay. Now whatever the content, whatever the value that is stored inside B will get assigned to variable A. And similarly, I should say B equal to C. Now the value of B is safe inside variable A. And similarly, uh, now B is, we don't need the value of B, right? As the value of B is safely stored inside variable A. We don't need the variable B now. So now I am changing the value of B to C. What is stored inside C? Here we are storing the value, initial value of A inside C. So I am storing now the value of C inside B. So after performing swapping, if I use the same print statement after performing swapping, now I am say after swapping. So after swapping, now the value of A will be 40. So let me run the program first. So it will be A is 20 and B is 40. So before swapping, of course, the value of A is 20 and B is 40. Now after swapping, you can see here, now the value of A is 40 and B is 20. So basically here I am changing the values, exchanging the values or swapping the values. So first I have taken a third variable called C and I safely stored the value of A in C. Now I have assigned the value of B to A. So now the value of B is stored inside A. Of course, I performed the swap operation on A successfully now. Now I need to store the previous value of A inside my B. Okay, I have successfully stored the value of B inside A, but now I need to store the previous value of A inside my variable b. So before performing swapping, I am storing the actual value of a in a new variable called c. So now if I say b equal to c, the previous value of a will get stored in my variable b. So like this you can perform swapping. Now you might be thinking, why do we need this program? I can say that it is an illogical program I have ever seen in my life. There is no use of this program, but in some interviews they may ask you to write a program to swap two numbers. That's why I'm explaining this program. Let me repeat once again, this is an illogical program I have ever seen. So let me comment out line number 10. So the second method is, this is easy actually. So I can simply say a comma b equal to b comma a. That's it. So here inside a I am storing the value of b, and inside b I am storing the value of a. That's it. So if I use the print statement again, and if I uncomment this line, and if I run this, you can see here, now if I enter 10 and 20, before swapping A is 10 and B is 20. After swapping, again A is 10 and B is 20. What is happening here? Let me run this once again. Actually, the value should change. Just give me a second. The value of A is A and B is B. Actually, this method works in Python. I don't know why I'm not getting output. So let me comment out. Okay, fine. I understood why I haven't got the output because here I am performing swapping and again I am performing swapping. Right, two times I am performing swapping. So after performing swapping two times, I am going to get the same values in A and B. So that's what happened. So let me comment out these lines. So now I am not performing swapping using third variable here. So if I run this program now, and if I enter 20 and 40, you can see here now the swapping has happened. So after swapping, A is 40 and B is 20. So this is the easiest way of performing swapping. So in case if they ask you to perform swapping with the help of third variable, use this method. Otherwise, you can use this method. Use the second method. It is basically easy. What is happening here? Inside A, I am storing B, and inside B, I am storing A. So like this also, we can assign values to the variables. Now, in this method, we need to make sure that previously we have declared variables A and B. In the line number 1 and 2, I have declared variables A and B. So I haven't got any error. So without declaring variables, if I use this method means I will get an error. Remember that point. So there are few more ways of assigning values to the variables. We have seen A equal to 10 and B equal to 20, right? So we can do this in one line itself. I can say A comma B equal to 10 comma 20. If I remove these two lines, let us use C comma D now. C comma D. So here C and D are my variables. So I am going to use the same line. The value stored in C is C and D is D. If I run this program, you can see. So let me comment out these two lines also. I don't need these two lines now. So I'm going to run this program once again. Name A is not defined. I need to comment out. You can see here I got error. Why I got error? Because I have commented. I have commented out line number 1 and 2, which means I'm not declaring variable A and B. So I got error. Let me comment out all these lines. And if I run this program, you can see here I got output as the value of C is 10 and D is 20. So like this also you can assign values to variables in same line itself. So you can use three variables also and you can assign three values. So instead of using three lines in a single line, you can do like this. So this is allowed only in Python. You can't perform this operation on Java or C. In Python, you are totally allowed to do this. Inside say within the same line, you can declare values to or you can assign values to multiple variables. All you need to remember is you need to separate variables and values with the help of comma. That's it. So I hope you clearly understood today's class. So I have finally enabled the chat section. Today we have discussed about a lot of things regarding functions. We have discussed about anonymous functions and finally we have seen how to swap two numbers in Python. So now if you don't have any doubts, you can leave the class. If you have any doubts, you can ask me and also I am going to stop the recording.